Listen carefully. Your kindness was never the problem. The problem began when you gave kindness to someone who treated it like weakness. You kept forgiving without seeing change. You kept explaining your pain to someone who already understood it but continued causing it. You kept offering another chance while slowly losing confidence in yourself. There comes a moment when kindness must stand up. There comes a moment when compassion must develop boundaries. There comes a moment when you must stop asking, how can I make this person treat me better? And begin asking, why am I continuing to participate in what is destroying my peace? This message is not about becoming cold, bitter, or hateful. It is about becoming wise. It is about learning that love without truth becomes enabling. Forgiveness without accountability becomes a cycle. And kindness without boundaries can become self-betrayal. Today, you are going to learn how to protect your heart without poisoning it. Kindness is one of the greatest strengths a human being can possess. It reflects compassion, emotional maturity, patience, and the ability to see beyond your own needs. But kindness must be guided by wisdom. When kindness has no boundaries, it can slowly become permission for unhealthy behavior. What begins as understanding may turn into tolerance. What begins as forgiveness may become a repeated cycle. What begins as love may eventually become self-abandonment. You may believe that being kind means remaining available no matter how someone treats you. You may think that if you remain patient long enough, explain yourself clearly enough, or forgive deeply enough, the person will eventually recognize your value. But kindness cannot force another person to develop empathy. Your loyalty cannot manufacture accountability in someone who refuses to take responsibility. Your sacrifices cannot transform a person who benefits from keeping things exactly as they are. When someone repeatedly manipulates, insults, dismisses, or controls you, unlimited kindness may teach them that there are no real consequences for their behavior. They may learn that they can cross your boundaries, offer a temporary apology, and receive the same access again. They discover that your fear of conflict is greater than your commitment to protecting yourself. Every time you forgive without requiring change, the cycle becomes stronger. This does not mean forgiveness is wrong. Forgiveness can free your heart from resentment, but forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same thing. You can release anger without restoring trust. You can wish someone well without inviting them back into the same position. You can stop carrying bitterness while still refusing to participate in destructive behavior. Healthy kindness contains truth. It does not hide from difficult conversations. It does not pretend that everything is acceptable. It does not continually protect people from the consequences of their choices. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to stop enabling a harmful pattern. Sometimes love must say, I care about you, but I will not continue accepting this treatment. A boundary is not an act of revenge. It is a clear statement about what you will allow around your mind, your body, your time, and your emotional well-being. You cannot control how another person behaves, but you can decide how you will respond. You cannot force them to speak respectfully, but you can leave the conversation when disrespect begins. You cannot force honesty, but you can stop trusting words that are repeatedly contradicted by actions. Many caring people struggle with boundaries because they feel guilty. They have been taught that saying no is selfish, that walking away is cruel, or that protecting themselves means they lack compassion. But there is nothing noble about allowing yourself to be continually harmed. Your emotional health matters. Your peace matters. Your future matters. You must stop measuring your goodness by how much mistreatment you can tolerate. Enduring disrespect does not make you more loving. Remaining silent does not always make you more mature. Continually giving chances does not automatically make you strong. Sometimes strength is found in speaking clearly. Sometimes maturity is found in refusing another argument. Sometimes wisdom is found in creating distance. A manipulative person may become angry when you establish boundaries because your previous lack of boundaries benefited them. They may accuse you of becoming cold, selfish, arrogant, or difficult. Do not allow their reaction to convince you that your decision is wrong. People who were comfortable with your silence may feel threatened by your voice. People who benefited from your confusion may resist your clarity. Their discomfort is not proof that you have done something wrong. You are allowed to protect yourself without becoming cruel. You do not need to insult them, humiliate them, or seek revenge. You can be calm and still be firm. You can remain respectful while refusing access. You can speak with compassion while making it clear that certain behaviors are no longer acceptable. True kindness is not weakness. True kindness has standards. It does not require you to become a victim in order to prove that you have a good heart. It recognizes that your compassion must include compassion for yourself. You deserve the same patience, care, protection, and understanding that you so freely offer to other people. Ask yourself whether your kindness is helping someone grow or helping them avoid responsibility. Ask yourself whether your forgiveness is creating healing or simply restarting the same cycle. Ask yourself whether you are staying because the relationship is healthy or because you are afraid of guilt, loneliness, or change. Honest questions create freedom. You do not have to stop being kind. You simply need to stop giving kindness in ways that destroy your dignity. Let your kindness be intelligent. Let it be guided by truth. Let it be protected by boundaries. Continue to love, but do not abandon yourself. Continue to forgive, but do not ignore patterns. Continue to care, but remember that caring for another person should never require you to lose your peace, your identity, or your self-respect. You cannot heal another person by destroying yourself. You cannot rescue someone from their inner chaos by allowing that chaos to become your daily environment. Compassion is powerful, but compassion was never meant to become self-sacrifice without limits. There is a difference between supporting someone through difficulty and allowing their unresolved pain to repeatedly injure you. Many kind people remain in unhealthy relationships because they believe love should be able to fix everything. They think that if they become more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, or more available, the other person will eventually change. They keep giving because they are emotionally attached to the potential they see. They are not only loving the person as they are loving the person they hope that individual may one day become. But potential is not the same as progress. You may understand that someone experienced rejection, neglect, insecurity, or pain in the past. Their history may help explain why they behave in certain ways, but explanation does not remove responsibility. Pain can influence behavior, but it does not give anyone permission to manipulate, degrade, control, or emotionally exhaust another person. Understanding someone's wounds does not require you to become wounded by them. You may feel responsible for keeping them calm. You may carefully choose every word because you are afraid of how they will react. You may ignore your own feelings because their emotions always seem more urgent. You may constantly reassure them, defend yourself, solve their problems, and absorb their anger. Slowly, your life begins to revolve around managing their emotional state. This is not healing. This is emotional survival. When you begin abandoning your needs to maintain another person's comfort, the relationship becomes unbalanced. You stop asking whether you are happy, safe, respected, or emotionally healthy. Instead, you focus entirely on preventing conflict. You become afraid to disagree. You begin apologizing for things you did not do. You silence your truth because speaking honestly may trigger another argument. The more you sacrifice, the more you may believe you have invested too much to leave. You think about the time, energy, loyalty, and love you have already given. You convince yourself that one more conversation, one more opportunity, or one more act of kindness will finally produce change. But change cannot be forced from the outside. A person changes when they recognize their behavior, accept responsibility, seek appropriate help, and consistently practice different choices. You can encourage that process, but you cannot perform it for them. You cannot attend therapy on their behalf. You cannot develop their empathy for them. You cannot create humility in someone who refuses correction. You cannot carry a person into transformation while they are resisting every step. Their healing is their responsibility. Your responsibility is to protect your well-being, preserve your dignity, and make decisions based on reality rather than promises. This does not mean you lack compassion. It means you understand that healthy love requires two people who are willing to grow. You must also recognize the physical and emotional cost of prolonged stress. Living in constant tension can affect your ability to sleep, concentrate, work, and connect with supportive people. You may feel drained even after resting. You may lose interest in activities that once brought you joy. You may begin doubting your memory, judgment, or worth because you have spent so much time being blamed, criticized, or invalidated. Your body often recognizes an unhealthy environment before your mind is ready to accept it. Pay attention to what you feel around the person. Do you feel safe to speak honestly? Do you feel respected when you disagree? Can you express a need without being punished? Can you make an independent choice without being accused of betrayal? Do conversations lead to understanding, or do they always end with you feeling confused and guilty? These questions are not about placing labels on another person. Only qualified professionals can diagnose mental health conditions. These questions are about recognizing patterns and evaluating how those patterns affect your life. Do not ignore repeated harm because the person occasionally behaves kindly. A few peaceful days do not erase months of manipulation. A gift does not replace accountability. A passionate apology does not automatically prove transformation. Real change is visible through consistent actions over time. You are allowed to care about someone and still admit that the relationship is harming you. You are allowed to remember their good qualities while accepting that their behavior is unhealthy. People are complex. Someone does not have to be entirely bad for you to decide that their presence is damaging your peace. Creating distance does not mean you have failed them. Ending an unhealthy pattern does not mean your love was false. Sometimes the most honest thing you can do is accept that your presence is not healing them and their presence is hurting you. You must stop believing that your suffering is evidence of devotion. Love should not require you to lose your identity. Loyalty should not demand that you tolerate humiliation. Commitment should not mean accepting endless cycles without accountability. Your heart matters too. Give yourself permission to seek support. Speak with trusted people. Consider professional counseling if the experience has damaged your confidence or emotional stability. Rebuild the routines, relationships, and goals you neglected while trying to save someone else. You were not created to become another person's emotional hospital while your own heart receives no care. You can offer compassion without offering unlimited access. You can hope they heal without sacrificing your health. You can love them from a distance while finally learning to love yourself with the same patience, protection, and dedication you once gave entirely to them. Boundaries do not create problems. They reveal the problems that were already present. When you begin saying no, protecting your time, expressing your needs, and refusing disrespect, you discover who truly values you and who only valued the access you gave them. A healthy person may not always agree with your boundary, but they will make an effort to understand it. A manipulative person often reacts as though your boundary is a personal attack because your independence threatens the control they once enjoyed. This is why setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable in the beginning. You may expect relief, but instead you experience guilt, fear, pressure, or conflict. The person may accuse you of changing. They may say you are becoming selfish, difficult, cold, or ungrateful. They may remind you of everything they have done for you. They may bring up your past mistakes or create a new crisis to distract you from the issue you originally addressed. Do not become confused by the reaction. A boundary is not wrong simply because someone dislikes it. Sometimes their anger is evidence that the boundary is necessary. When a person is accustomed to receiving unlimited access to your attention, energy, forgiveness, or resources, even a reasonable limit may feel like rejection to them. They are not always grieving the relationship. They may be grieving the loss of control. You must learn the difference between disappointing someone and harming someone. Saying no may disappoint them, but it does not necessarily harm them. Ending a disrespectful conversation may frustrate them, but it does not make you cruel. Refusing to accept blame for something you did not do may anger them, but it does not make you irresponsible. You cannot build a peaceful life while making every decision according to another person's emotional reaction. A boundary explains what you will do when certain behavior occurs. It is not merely a demand that another person change. You may say, if shouting begins, I will end the conversation. You may say, I will not lend money again. You may say, I will not discuss private matters when I am being insulted. You may say, if this pattern continues, I will create distance. The power of a boundary is not found in the words alone. It is found in your willingness to follow through. When you repeatedly announce limits but never act on them, the other person learns that your boundary is negotiable. They learn that enough pressure, guilt, anger, or emotional drama will eventually make you surrender. Consistency teaches people how to treat you. This does not mean you must become aggressive. You do not need to scream, threaten, insult, or humiliate anyone. Calmness can be more powerful than anger, because calmness shows that your decision is not controlled by the emotional atmosphere. You are not reacting impulsively. You are responding with clarity. A manipulative person may try to pull you into a long argument because arguments can exhaust your resistance. They may demand repeated explanations even after you have spoken clearly. They may twist your words, change the subject, deny previous conversations, or present themselves as the victim. The more you explain, the more material they receive to debate. Sometimes the strongest boundary is a brief statement. I have made my decision. I will not continue this conversation. That behavior is not acceptable to me. I understand that you disagree, but my answer remains no. You are not required to defend every healthy choice until the other person approves it. Their approval is not the foundation of your freedom. Boundaries also reveal your own character. They expose whether you trust yourself enough to protect what matters. They challenge your fear of rejection. They force you to confront the belief that love must be earned through endless sacrifice. They teach you that your peace cannot depend on pleasing everyone. At first, you may feel guilty because you are breaking an old pattern. Guilt does not always mean you have done something wrong. Sometimes guilt appears because you have done something unfamiliar. You are learning to choose self-respect where you once chose fear. You are learning to tolerate another person's disappointment instead of betraying yourself to avoid it. Watch how people respond over time. A mature person may initially feel hurt or confused, but they will reflect, communicate, and adjust. They will respect your right to have needs. They will not repeatedly punish you for being honest. They will not make love conditional upon your obedience. A controlling person may intensify pressure. They may become unusually charming, make dramatic promises, withdraw affection, spread false stories, or attempt to provoke you. Do not judge transformation by the intensity of their reaction. Judge it by sustained behavior. Real change respects boundaries even when no reward is offered. Remember that you are not diagnosing anyone by recognizing unhealthy behavior. Only a qualified mental health professional can diagnose a personality disorder. Your task is not to determine what label belongs to someone. Your task is to notice whether their pattern is damaging your emotional health. You deserve relationships in which honesty is safe, respect is mutual, and boundaries are not treated as betrayal. Stop fearing what your boundaries will cost you. The people who truly value you will not require your self-abandonment as the price of connection. A boundary may cause some people to leave, but it will also make space for peace, clarity, dignity, and healthier relationships. Let those boundaries reveal the truth. Anyone who can only love you when you have no limits does not love your whole person. They love your availability. Stand firm, speak calmly, follow through. Your boundaries are not walls against love. They are doors that allow respect to enter while keeping manipulation outside. Distance is not always rejection, punishment, or revenge. Sometimes distance is the wisest response to a relationship that repeatedly damages your peace. When a person continues to manipulate, blame, control, insult, or emotionally exhaust you, remaining close may not be an act of love. It may become an act of self-neglect. Many people hesitate to create distance because they fear appearing cruel. They worry about what others will say. They wonder whether leaving means they failed, gave up too soon, or lacked compassion. But protecting yourself from a destructive pattern does not make you heartless. It means you have finally accepted that your well-being also matters. You can care about someone without giving them unlimited access to your life. You can forgive someone without returning to the same environment. You can hope they grow while recognizing that you cannot remain present for every painful stage of their refusal to change. Distance gives you the opportunity to think clearly. When you are constantly surrounded by conflict, pressure, blame, and emotional confusion, it becomes difficult to evaluate the relationship honestly. You may spend so much time responding to the latest crisis that you never pause to examine the entire pattern. A few peaceful moments may convince you that everything is improving. A sudden apology may make you forget months of disrespect. A promise made during an emotional conversation may cause you to ignore how often the same promise has already been broken. Distance interrupts the cycle. It allows your nervous system to calm down. It gives you time to hear your own thoughts without another person immediately correcting, dismissing, or challenging them. It helps you remember who you were before the relationship became the center of your emotional life. Sometimes you do not realize how exhausted you have become until you step away from what was exhausting you. You may notice that you begin sleeping better. Your concentration may improve. You may reconnect with friends, goals, interests, or routines you had neglected. You may feel uncomfortable at first because peace can seem unfamiliar after living in constant emotional tension. Do not confuse unfamiliar peace with emptiness. When chaos has become normal, calmness can initially feel strange. You may miss the intensity, the dramatic conversations, the temporary reunions, or the emotional highs that followed painful conflicts. This does not mean the relationship was healthy. It may mean your mind became accustomed to a cycle of tension and relief. Give yourself time to adjust. Do not rush back simply because distance feels difficult. Discomfort is not always a sign that you made the wrong choice. Sometimes discomfort is part of breaking an unhealthy attachment. Growth can feel lonely before it feels freeing. You may also experience guilt. The person may tell you that you abandoned them, misunderstood them, or became selfish. They may remind you of every good moment you shared. They may promise that everything will change if you return. They may become unusually kind, attentive, or apologetic when they sense that they are losing access to you. Pay attention to behavior over time, not emotion in the moment. A strong reaction to losing control is not the same as genuine transformation. Real change includes accountability, humility, patience, respect for your boundaries, and consistent action. Real change does not pressure you to return before trust has been rebuilt. You do not owe immediate access to anyone simply because they apologized.
Trust is not restored through words alone.
Trust is rebuilt slowly through evidence. If someone becomes angry because you need time, space, or proof of change, their reaction may reveal that they are more focused on regaining access than repairing the damage. Distance can take different forms. For some people, it may mean shorter conversations. For others, it may mean limiting the information they share. It may mean no longer responding to every message immediately. It may involve reducing contact, ending a friendship, leaving a romantic relationship, or seeking professional guidance about a difficult family situation. Choose the level of distance that protects your well-being and reflects the seriousness of the behavior. You do not need to announce every detail of your plan. Sometimes a calm, simple statement is enough. I need space to think. I am no longer available for conversations that become disrespectful. This relationship is affecting my health, and I am stepping back. I have made my decision, and I will not continue debating it. Clarity does not require cruelty. You do not need to insult the person, expose them publicly, or seek revenge. Revenge keeps you emotionally connected to the same pain you are trying to escape. The purpose of distance is not to make them suffer. The purpose is to stop participating in a pattern that is harming you. Protect your privacy during this period. A manipulative person may use personal information, mutual friends, family pressure, or emotional appeals to pull you back into the cycle. Share your situation only with trustworthy people who respect your choices and do not carry every conversation back to the person you are distancing yourself from. Seek support when necessary. A counselor, therapist, trusted friend, or responsible family member can help you maintain perspective. If you ever feel unsafe, prioritize your safety and contact appropriate local support. Remember that recognizing unhealthy behavior is not the same as diagnosing someone. Only a qualified professional can diagnose a personality disorder. You do not need a diagnosis to decide that a repeated pattern is damaging your emotional health. You are allowed to leave what repeatedly harms you. You are allowed to choose peace over confusion. You are allowed to stop explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Distance does not always mean hatred. Sometimes it means you have accepted reality. Sometimes it means you have stopped trying to control what another person refuses to change. Sometimes it means you are finally making room for your healing, purpose, and future. You can wish them well from a distance. You can release resentment without reopening the door. You can carry compassion in your heart while keeping wisdom at the entrance of your life. Walking away is not always weakness. Sometimes walking away is the moment you finally stop abandoning yourself.